The Nintendo Gamecube is an interesting chapter in the company's lustrous history. Released after the turn of the millennium in 2001, the console was a part of the 6th generation of video games, which had been started by the Sega Dreamcast in 1998 and fully established with the Sony PlayStation 2 in 2000, in addition to a newcomer in the ring with the Microsoft Xbox the following year. The GameCube was a vibrant platform filled with many titles to play, from the big end's trusted IPs with Super Mario Sunshine, Metroid Prime and The Legend of Zelda The Wind Waker, hidden gems such as Beautiful Joe and Tales of Symphonia, new faces from Pikmin to Animal Crossing, and fan favourite classics that are still played today by millions of gamers, most notably Super Smash Bros. Melee, championed by a dedicated fanbase who swear by the simple, difficult to master game. During its lifespan, the stellar library of software did not equal commercial success for the platform, selling over 21 million units in a matter of 6 years, which stalls behind the Xbox at 24 million and way behind the PS2, where it sold an astonishing 155 million devices in 12 years, making it the best-selling video game console of all time. Now, when it comes to gaming in general, one of the most important factors to consider are the controllers that you use. This can make or break your experience, because if they're not responsive or intuitive, then this has the potential to damage the reputation of the system and may steer you away from using it ever again. Thankfully, the GameCube controller in my view was far from bad, and it's one of my favourite controllers ever made. Yet, as great as it was, the GameCube controller faced one inherited problem, which also applied to its competitors. The only way you could use it to play your games was to plug it to the console through a wired cable. And while this solution had proven to work flawlessly, dating back to the days of the Atari 2600, it was bugged with its own flaws. For instance, massive clutters of cables can form, the wire length can be too small, and someone can trip over an exposed cable on the ground easily. However, Nintendo knew that the old-fashioned days of wired controllers were becoming archaic, especially in the 21st century. So, what did they do to circumvent this age-old problem? Well, they got wavy with their response, the Wavebird. The Wavebird for the Nintendo Gamecube is an important step in the history of video game controllers, paving the way for today's modern counterparts. At the Shoshinkai Space World show hosted in August 2000, Nintendo unveiled the Game Boy Advance and GameCube at the same show, but amidst the talk of brand new systems and an SD card reader that never came to fruition, a wireless controller for the Cube was unveiled, dubbed the Wavebird. Before this idea was conceived, there had been previous attempts to create wireless controllers for gaming. In the 1980s, Atari experimented twice with such technology, the first being the 2700, a cordless version of the 2600 that never saw the light of day due to interference issues, and the other being the CX42 joysticks, but these were bulkier in design and suffered poor battery life. Nintendo were also keen on the idea of wire-free gaming in the same decade. When bringing a Japanese Famicom overseas, they had planned to release the Advanced Video System that would have came with 2 wireless controllers, but it was scrapped in favour of the NES that came with wired pads instead. In 1989, the NES Satellite came out, allowing 4 people to play in supported games, and the wired controllers were connected to an adapter that communicated to a receiver through infrared technology. In the 1990s, controllers were becoming more complex, and despite some official and third-party accessories offering wireless gameplay, most of them used infrared sensors, which are used in TV remotes, but a big downside to using this is that you must have an uninterrupted line of sight from the console and controller, and you had to point the said controller directly to the same system. When constructing the Wavebird, Nintendo were aware of this, so rather than rely on the weak system tried and tested before, they decided on using radio frequencies, which has been bolstered by advancements regarding integrated circuitry. This means that the controller can be used anywhere within 20 feet of a GameCube with no interruption, although some tests dispute this by saying it can function from 90 feet away, almost quintuple the big end's recommendation when all 16 channels are used. Design-wise, the Wavebird has all the same buttons from its wired counterpart, and it's slightly bigger and heavier due to a battery compartment. While the standard controller has a gap between a D-pad and C-stick, the Wavebird has in place a dial to select channels and an on-off switch, featuring an orange LED indicator that's the same colour as the power light found on the GameCube. Setting up the controller is a fairly simple process. Pop in 2 AA batteries inside, align the channel dials from the Wavebird and receiver so that they match, connect the receiver to the system, turn on the controller and console, and you're all ready to go. Now you can play any GameCube game of your choice, with no wires to worry about at all. When it comes to playing games, the Wavebird works like a charm. The device is comfortable to hold, highly responsive, and I didn't notice any lag or any other interference hiccups. The battery life is also solid. I spent up to 2 hours trying to control it out in several games, and these varied from adventures, sports, shooters, racing, and fighting titles in regards to genres. Another benefit worth noting is that the Wavebird also works on the Wii, as the console is backwards compatible with Gamecube games and accessories, and with Super Smash Bros. For the Wii U, not only can you use a regular Gamecube controller courtesy of a special USB adapter, but you can also use the Wavebird too. Ask any Smash Bros fan what they use to compete against other gamers, and 9 times out of 10 they'll say that the Gamecube controller is the best way to go. Not sure what the other players would say. They might use the Donkey Kong bongos for all I know. The Wavebird, unfortunately, is not all perfect, and this is because of one sacrifice Nintendo had to make. If they wanted their controller to have a long-lasting battery life, they had to cut something out of the equation, and that something was a built-in rumble motor. So while the regular Gamecube controller can vibrate upon impact during a game, the Wavebird cannot. There is no rumble feature on the wireless controller, because if there was, then the battery life would have been significantly shorter and would have been detrimental to the accessory's overall appeal. In conclusion, the Wavebird controller for the Gamecube is fantastic, and it's a must-have for any Nintendo fan. After many years of trial and error, experimenting with infrared technology, people were finally given a legitimate way to truly enjoy their games without being stuck by wires. Thanks to rapid changes in the technology industry, and since the inception of the 7th generation of gaming in 2005, every home console has come bundled with a wireless controller, and nowadays, wireless connectivity is nothing but commonplace, and this can all be traced back to the marvelous capabilities of the Wavebird. Now, on the subject of prices, they're not too expensive for a retro controller. They're more costly than a regular Gamecube controller, and sure, you can buy cheaper wireless offerings from other third-party companies, but they tend to be poor quality, and I would recommend that you get the real deal instead. When looking online, make sure that the listing you choose includes the receiver, otherwise you can't use the Wavebird without one. Also, the controller is available in 2 colours of light grey and platinum, but there are rarer limited edition choices. From the Club Nintendo Wavebird that was exclusive to Japan, and a 2-toned red Wavebird that was released in conjunction with a Mobile Suit Gundam game in the same country. I got my Wavebird, including its receiver, at my local CEX in town for £30, which is around £15 to £20 cheaper than many eBay listings. And another great bonus is that many CEX shops now sell retro games and consoles, such as the N64, PS1, Sega Mega Drive, Super Nintendo and the Gamecube to name a few. So, there you have it, the Wavebird. Do you like the controller? Have you ever played on one before? Post a comment down below this video, and if you have anything to say, then let it all out. Anyways, that's it for today's video, and until next time, I'll see you all later. Cheerio!